Good afternoon. I was very impressed by the last speaker, and who's had, 40 years of experience setting up his own business. I've had 4 years, and in fact, when I hear of all he says about leadership, I failed dismally on all fronts. But there we are. At least I have perhaps 36 more years to catch up. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me here. I don't often give speaking presentations at schools. I tend to give these to dreadful clients, but within the, for the purpose of trying desperately to get work. So what I wanted to, I'm going to talk a little bit about own business later, but I'm going to ask I'm talking about other things earlier. So I'd like you to put your hands up if you possibly can. Is there anyone here who's ever wanted to do something and they've talked about it, but they decided not to because they're scared? It's too hard. They have huge self-doubt. Right, thank God we've got some hands going up. And by the way, mine's included, so that's good. In fact, I was going to, I was thinking if no one put their hands up, then I would say that you're a room full of high achievers and so on and so forth. So I think it's natural to feel doubt and scared to fail. And I'm sure you've heard of Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and Richard Branson. They've all had so many business failures. Of course, you read about their phenomenal successes, but they have failed many, many times. But what separates them is that they try, they're driven, they don't give up, and they accept their failures and they learn by them. It's very, very important. In a far lower category, I'm certainly not in their atmosphere by any means. I have myself tried a number of businesses, many of which have failed. Some have been partially successful. And my latest venture, which I hope will be my last, it seems to be going well so far. So we're going to talk about own businesses later and my views on the challenges, the issues, the benefits of it. But I also wanted to talk to you about the charity that I've been involved with for 13 years. It's called the Riding for the Disabled charity in Singapore. There are branches elsewhere and so on. So when I came to Singapore in 2008, a year or so later I started to participate in the charity. First of all, as a donor, and then I got onto the committee, and then I became the treasurer. These are all honorary positions, and then I'm now the vice chairman. So basically the RDA charity, I think there must be 200 or so children who are disabled, either cognitively or physically or both. And the charity offers free therapy to these children, involving horses, either getting on them or touching them or holding them. So let me tell you 2 nice little stories about personal challenges. We'll come on to other challenges, but personal challenges facing these children. So there's 2 very nice stories. These are true, by the way. They're not anecdotal. They're true stories. So there was one boy who started to come to the RDA. He was 8 years old. He'd never spoken a word in his entire life to anyone, certainly not his family, and to no one. And after a few sessions engaging with the horses, one particular horse actually, he came home one evening, and having never spoken a word for 8 years, he said, "Smokey." And Smokey wasn't the cat, or his mother, or anyone other. It was actually one of the horses. And since then, he started to speak, and speak more and more and more. I mean, it's just a lovely story. And there's another little story. Again, it's a true story about a boy who he cannot be sat on a horse. He falls over, falls forward, so he can just about straddle a horse, just about, with some difficulty. And he did finally manage to do that. And he has a younger sister, and the story goes that when he came home, he said, I feel I have succeeded. I have done something my little sister has never done. I've managed to ride a horse. So it's very sweet. Anyway, and let's talk now about, we talked about personal challenges, talk about external challenges and so on, particularly in the context of business, and I guess in the context of my own business. So basically, I've been involved in the markets, financial markets, the commodity markets for 30 years, which goes to show how old I am. And I have this specialist firm, which I set up 4 or so years ago, and we have a sister office as well in London, but the specialist firm anyway, just to do with commodities. By the way, can someone here tell me what a commodity is? Give me an example of a commodity. Anyone? What's a commodity? You have to be able to tell me what a commodity is. Huh? Sorry? What is a... No, give me an example of a commodity. Sorry? House? No, that's an asset. Okay, let me give you a little hint. What's happened recently to commodity prices? Right. Why, by the way, has the commodity gas price risen? Tell me why. You should know. Because of what? The war, yes. And supply and demand and COVID and so on and so forth. So, when I go back to external challenges facing a business, and COVID has affected many, many businesses, including my own, some positively, some negatively, and so on. I mean, other impact, obviously the rise in inflation, and driven by commodity prices and so on, and climate change, which I'll come on to later. Climate change is is so significant to all of us here, to everyone, not just to my particular firm, by the way. It's very, very significant. And how we address this, and how countries some are trying to address it. But it's a big game change. And if any of you are interested in any kind of business, I would get into climate change, personally. Yeah, which I'm trying to do as myself. So, right, let me talk about business. That was the main... I kind of want to talk about setting up a business now. So, I need to use this thing here, don't I? Is it the green thing? Green, I don't know, green, don't know. What do I press this? Oh yeah, there we are. Okay, sorry. I'm not very good at these things. Okay, that's me. I promise you that's the new photograph of me. In fact, it's slightly older, but it's good enough. And is that your campus, by the way? Is that pictures of your campus? Possibly? No? Yeah, thank God, because my assistant put it on. I thought, I didn't recognize that. But anyway, there we are. I'm going to run through this very quickly, okay? So this is all now about the challenges of setting up and running a business when you have to run your own funding. You don't have a big ticket item behind you. So you're doing it on your own. So I've talked about this. We've talked about these. I'm going to talk about these things here. Okay, that's just the summary of it. I'm going to talk about each one. Okay. It's like, if you have your own business, it's fantastic just thinking about it, deciding what you can do. You're the master of your own destiny. It's lovely, it's great, it's fantastic, as opposed to working for a big corporate or bank. It's absolutely the case, which my good friend will tell you, I'm sure. You can build a team, you can bring people in, you can get people grow. It's very rewarding emotionally. Forget about the financial side, that comes anyway. That's kind of secondary, funnily enough. It's a great thing to do. The trouble is, it comes with massive challenges, which I've described here. It's very, very difficult. You've got to be committed, you've got to be dedicated, you've got to drive, you cannot give up. Within reason. If a business is not succeeding, you have at one point, there has to be some stop loss. You've got to get out. But you've got to give it time. And it won't take you 6 months, it won't take you 1 year. It'll take you, I think you have maybe two to 3 years, you pretty much know whether it's going to be a goer and so on. You've got to give it patience, and you need a bit of luck. Yep. So where do you begin? Okay, you come up with an idea. You're all very clever here. You come up with ideas. Try never to do a business you know nothing about. You will fail. It's highly likely you'll fail. either you've had experience or expertise in the business. In my case, I have, because I've been doing it for 30 years. It's kind of easier. Or if you're far younger, you acquire that knowledge. You can acquire knowledge any way you like. Read, read, read. But don't do something you know nothing about. I promise you will fail. Come up with a plan, do some research, whether you're offering a product or a service, what's the market, how you're going to fund the business, whether you want to do it with someone else. Probably do it with someone else. You know, 2 people is like 3 ideas, but you've got to choose your partner very carefully. And then you've got to talk, workforce is very key. Who do you employ? Who do you hire? And of course, you know, the nightmare is trying to get money, revenues, and what are your costs? Yep, all very simple. So here we go. I kind of repeated this a little bit now, but are you offering a service or a product? But in a law firm, it's a service. It's not a product. Do you do it from home or the office or both? In my case, I have to do it from an office. I'm regulated. I cannot do it from home. Not allowed to. With or with other people? What's the business environment? Now, Singapore has actually got a low tax rate. Gives some grants, not to foreigners like me, but that's a bit of a dig. But tax rates are low. It's predictable. It's stable. They recognize the force of law. It's a very good environment to do business, Singapore, definitely. I suppose similarities, well, I'm not quite sure where, but not the UK, not the US, not Europe. I'd probably say go for Singapore. Used to be Hong Kong, but not anymore. Who are you going to hire? What level are you going to hire? Do you need a license to operate the business, as I do? How do you fund it? It's coming out of your own pocket, one way or the other. And, you know, your pockets and mine, they're not unlimited. Clients, and how do you market? Yep. By the way, this has nothing to do just with the law firm. This applies generally and so on. So here we are, operating the business. You've got to get clients. You've got to keep them happy. You've got to worry about your OPEX. You've got to worry about your capital expenditure. Liquidity, jumping around a bit, but liquidity is basically ensuring you have enough money that comes in to pay your operating cost and hopefully gives you some kind of net margin. That's what liquidity is. But liquidity can kill a business. Because you have great clients and you do lots of work for your clients in the service industry, but they don't pay you or they pay you late, it can destroy the business. Yep, so liquidity is key. You've got to be aware of market development. So for example, I talked about COVID earlier on. You've got to be aware of how the market around you changes. In the context of COVID, for say a commodities law firm, obviously there are 2 impacts. The first impact is that clients are constrained. They don't do anything. They don't want to do anything. They don't want to develop. They don't want to do deals. They don't want to do nothing. They're just sort of insular. But if you have a commodity client that's had a supply chain issue, you know, a constraint, a force majeure claim, there's work coming out of that. We've had some work because of that, because of COVID, and work coming out of the Ukraine crisis. But that's more on the negative side. But it's work nonetheless. So, by the way, human capital, human resource capital, it's a good word. You've got to be really open to who you hire. There are some amazing people out there. It doesn't matter what height they are, how tall they are, how big they are, what race they are. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter what their background is, to be honest. I never, ever will take someone on from Oxford or Cambridge. I promise you I won't. Partly because I didn't go to Oxford or Cambridge, but I would never do that. You've got to get the right people. And you can have someone from some, you know, unknown university or college who's got drive and passion, and that's what you go for. You've got to do it. It's really important, really important. And I can't stand people from Oxford and Cambridge anyway, but anyway, there we are. And be inclusive. You know, you'd be surprised how many people are really quite good, and you want them on your team. You want them to join you. It's really important. It's really important. Team spirit, you've got to engender team spirit. By the way, I don't know where I fall within my good friends, you know, possibly strategic leader. I'm a hybrid. I'm laissez-faire. I think I have EQ. I think I do. Here we go, talking about myself. Strategic leader, probably. We'll see. But I'm not quite sure what a servant leader is, but anyway, it's interesting. People development, you've got to get people grow. Give people roles and duties that they can perform, but you've got to help them with it. I can't expect from a 30-year-old lawyer what someone like me can do 28 years older than them. I can't expect that. But you've got to let them grow and thrive and teach. It's really important. And I have a very small firm. It's tiny. I mean, there's me, one other partner, there's a silent partner, there's a senior associate, who is an Indian lady, actually, and I have a Singaporean office manager. You know, they are great, but I kind of let them get on with it and step in when I need to. God knows what they say about me, but anyway, I think I do it quite well. By the way, one thing about incentivization, it's not money. If people are incentivized by money, forget it. You don't want them. You've got a reasonably well-paid person who feels emancipated and recognized and loved and part of the team will take that every time over money. I promise you. Within reason, by the way. You can't obviously pay someone impoverished rates, but they will. They will not. People who are driven by money will just leave, move to the next thing, and then they'll leave and move to the next thing. I promise you, if you can build a workforce where people are happy and, you know, you're open and free, they will take that 10 times over money. Just like I would rather work for a client that pays me half my hourly rate than some bastard who is awful to deal with. I will not deal with it. I promise you. You can't, it's not worth the pain. Not worth the pain. Right. I'm running out of time. Lessons learned. Here we go. Right. So this is for new, you know, it takes far longer than you think. You've got to commit, drive, you've got to be patient. Great people out there. They really are. Emancipating, fulfilling, inspiring, challenging, but worth the journey. And on that note, that valedictory note, I would thank you for listening to me. And I hope I didn't speak too fast.